Hello, thank you for clicking on this video. If another short video. This time, I suppose I'm looking to speak to people who work in the frontline services. I've named my business after Frontline, so it's Frontline Psychotherapy. That's because my history is with the frontline services, so I've a wealth of experience within the frontline services, and I'm very aware of what kind of stresses that they experience and what they do with that stress. So interestingly, generally, like there is a lot of really good services in there for supporting mental health in the front line, and one of them is the staff care systems, whatever that happens to be called, employee assistance programs, and they're excellent. Excellent. I wouldn't fault them. And one of my advertisements, I I included a cover letter, just to say that although I acknowledge employee assistance is offered, I feel that it doesn't always get to where it needs to go. It wasn't meant to insult at all. It was meant to be, as well as that this service, which is the employee system, is a vital service. I did my own research on it. It's incredible. It's very beneficial. But even the EAP would admit that it's short term. Generally, they get 4 to 6 sessions. Each person gets 4 to 6 sessions, and ultimately in therapy, 6 sessions is what's known as the handshake. 6 to 8 sessions is a handshake. You only really getting to know your therapist at that stage. You don't get to choose your therapist. You get given a therapist, which is amazing that you get a therapist in an employment situation. But it does have a couple of I don't know what you call concerns, I suppose. Now I was contacted by a member of administration. This person identified themselves as someone from administration in a national hospital. Was fairly irate that I'd insulted the employee assistance program and they threatened with legal action, which I found quite interesting because the employee assistance program itself isn't an entity, and I insulted nobody by expressing my opinion. That opinion was put in writing. If that opinion was questioned in the court of law, the fact is, it's a nice start to therapy. It's not an ongoing therapy. My offer was to complement employee assistance where it's provided. Now, again, it's not provided in a lot of frontline services. And as well as that, it's not uptake. There's very little uptake. And I found out during my research, there's very little uptake in EAP. And the question is, like, I know from people I've worked with, I know that they have a feeling that the management is going to know that they're going to EAP. And that's simply not true. There's a number generated when they go to counselling. That number is provided to management as an employee number, not the person, and the confidentiality is maintained. The only time that would ever be breached is the same with any therapist. Once it's harm to yourself or another person or harm to a child, historic or current. So it's really interesting, like, to think that I'd offended the employee assistance program by stating my opinion. And it wasn't a bad opinion at all, because I do find that it's amazing. My only issue is it's not long enough, and that's to promote them, not to dismiss them. But aside from that, the frontline services are incredibly stressed. They're under resourced, overworked, really underappreciated. And we, now I'm in the public, in the general public, we generally don't understand what they go through. So there's certain things like vicarious traumatization. They witness things that should not be witnessed by humans. If you've ever come across, I'll take for example the ambulance, if you've ever been driving in your car and seen a car crash, and what that does to your body, that fear, that adrenaline, that what's going on, what can I do anything wrong now? These people are very highly trained, but they still have this high level of cortisol levels, etc. High, very adrenaline, all this kind of going on in them. And as well as that, though, very compassionate people, and that might hear things falling out, sorry. Very compassionate people that they give of themselves. They care for people, they look after them. But what happens after a while is over this exposure and dealing with these fairly difficult situations. So the fire service, guards, ambulance service, nurses, doctors, even admin staff, cleaners in hospitals, cleaners and GPs and essentially, there's no end to this frontline. It just keeps going. When you look at it, these are all the people in the front line who are exposed to vicarious traumatization. And what happens is they layer on, they get, well, I have to harden up here. And what happens is they suppress their own feelings because they have to get stronger and get out there. Something harder hits them and they go out, and then they get colder and they get clinical, and some people turn to drink or drugs or whatever. Not everyone. Some people just need the numbing, the switch off, the deflection, the escape. So I would say, and I'm only saying this because I was in that situation, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. People are really good to listen. Really, really good to listen. If you don't want to go to therapy, that's your choice. Do not, don't be forced. Don't feel you have to. But when I was in my role, I was also worked as a peer support worker, and I found just a little sit down, have a cup of tea, talk a bit of gibberish, bit of nonsense, and then just say, "Jez, I'm not feeling great," and that can open a lot of doors. And that stage, like, maybe just call on the employee assistance program. Just a little phone call. It takes no effort. Talk to them. If you need anything further, then seek out your own therapist. When I was in the role, I sought out EAP therapists, and there are very few who have experienced of actually lived experience of vicarious traumatization. They're out there, but they're very few. And I really struggled to match with someone in that system that could hear me and really see me for what I was going through. Brilliant with dealing with emotion things, but lack of understanding. So there was a definite incongruence, a mismatch. We couldn't really communicate. So I only kind of felt I got half the therapy I needed. And that would, for someone who doesn't understand therapy, that would just go, that's nonsense. I'm not doing that anymore. So I just say to you, it's not all nonsense. It's worth going out there and talking and getting checked out and getting some support. You're not on your own. And if you need to, you can have my phone number. It's here. It should be on this page. And you're welcome to meet up with me or anyone else. But just don't live that. Don't bring that home. Let that go. I hope that helped. But as I said, it's predominantly for frontline workers. Thanks for listening.